These bizarre KGB documents expose the most horrifying secrets. In 1992, he took the overnight train to Riga, dressed as what could be described as a street peddler, hiding a sample of some confidential documents under old clothes and sausages. This kind of escape must have been a relief for someone who hadn't been able to confide in anybody but himself for as many as 30 years of working with the KGB in the Soviet Union. And that could be the story of just one KGB defector. Hello, friends. Well, if you often fantasize about the past and really want to know about the history of ancient civilizations, then you're at the right place. Welcome to Unthinkable Past, a channel better known for dishing up the outlandish ancient traditions of all times. Today, we're going to check out some of the most horrifying Soviet secrets that got exposed by some bizarre KGB documents. So better buckle up, let's binge history together. The typical attitude towards the Soviet Committee for State Security, or KGB, Komitet Gosudarstvenoi Bezopasnosti, has been one of private terror and public praise. When a subject would turn to the committee, people would often knock 3 times, rather than pronounce the 3 letters aloud. Pop culture, like movies and literature, on the other hand, have frequently portrayed the heroic exploits of the KGB and its forerunners, most notably Lenin's Cheka, the all-Russian Extraordinary Commission for the struggle against counter-revolution and sabotage. But that is no longer the case. The media's depiction of the evil side of the security organization has gone far beyond just condemnation of Joseph Stalin's secret police. Atrocities committed by the Cheka during or shortly after Lenin's lifetime are being publicly reported in the media. The KGB's role in the overthrow of Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev in 1964 has been widely publicized, and the criticism of the KGB's treatment of dissidents has begun to appear in official media since long, which in turn pushed many agents into defecting and exposing a lot of horrifying Soviet secrets. But let's get a bit closer, starting with Vasily Mitrokhin, a KGB archivist and Soviet Union foreign intelligence officer who defected to the West in 1992. Having grown disillusioned with the brutal oppression of the Soviet regime, he snuck out comprehensive notes from 1972 until 1982 that the FBI later described as the most complete and extensive intelligence ever received from any source. This collection was dubbed the Mitrokhin Archive, revealing historic large-scale subversive operations against the West. Svetlana Lokova, a colleague of Christopher Andrew, the Cambridge historian who pioneered the study of intelligence agencies and later designated MI5's official historian, translated these Mitrokhin files for journalists at the Churchill Archives Center. Well, the story turned out to be far more explosive than anybody had anticipated, and its repercussions exposed not hundreds, but thousands of Russian operatives and foreign intelligence personnel all over the world, including so-called illegals living in deep cover overseas while disguised as foreign residents. And so, the West learned of shocking espionage activities, subversion campaigns, and large-scale sabotage operations carried out by Soviet intelligence and the KGB, a byword for stealth and ruthlessness. And these had been carried out since the 1920s, including the Great Illegals program in the West, saw the predecessor of the KGB, Cheka, send deep cover officers to infiltrate European nations' governments and spy agencies. Soviet agents targeted young, sympathetic men drawn to communism, which ultimately led to the formation of the notorious spy ring, often referred to as the Magnificent Five, or in the West, the Cambridge Five, comprising of Donald MacLean, Guy Burgess, Kim Philby, Anthony Blunt, and a 5th spy, believed to be John Cairncross, recruited while they attended the University of Cambridge. They passed government secrets from the Foreign Office, MI5, and MI6 throughout World War II until at least the 1950s. Active measures against the US aimed against adversary, a term the Russians had assigned to the West, to weaken the resolve of the American people and their trust in their own government amid tumultuous moments in US history. Then, potential war with NATO, where a massive campaign of sabotage and distribution in North America behind enemy lines, in case NATO went to war with the Soviet Union during the 1960s. The critical pathways to target infrastructure exploited the weaknesses across the US-Canada and US-Mexico borders. Interestingly, a 2005 book, based on the files by intelligence historian Christopher Andrew, claimed that the KGB also infiltrated India at multiple levels during Indira Gandhi's tenure as Prime Minister, causing L.K. Advani, the then leader of the opposition, to demand a parliamentary inquiry. According to the KGB files, which Andrew replicated in the Mitrokhin Archive too, 10 Indian publications and 1 press agency were on the Soviet payroll. The KGB claimed to have planted over 3,500 pieces in Indian newspapers in 1972. KGB notes on Pope John Paul II whose activities in Poland were closely monitored before his election to the papacy, maps and details of secret Russian arms caches in Western Europe and the United States, and files on Melita Norwood, dubbed the spy who came in from the co-op, were also there among the 19 boxes and thousands of papers copied by Mitrokhin. For further information, during the Cold War, the KGB also led several disinformation campaigns as part of its clandestine psychological warfare tactics, or say, active measures. For instance, the KGB's AIDS disinformation campaign. This initiated in the mid-1980s and drew particular attention due to its enormous success at the time. During the campaign, the KGB worked with the USSR's Novosti press agency and the Soviet bloc's allied intelligence services to spread the theory that the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, that causes AIDS was genetically engineered or concocted by the Pentagon as part of its alleged biological weapons research at the US Army's Medical Research Institute for Infectious Diseases, or the USA MRIID. Russia has a long history of eliminating enemies of the state as well, and no doubt throughout the Cold War, the KGB has been associated with spies and double agents in the UK and the US, as well as honey traps and assassinations. For instance, Georgy Markov, a dissident Bulgarian writer, was presumably blasted with a poison pellet from an improvised umbrella on London's Waterloo Bridge in 1978. Now, this was the most notorious KGB execution. Less well-known, but also as rare, were the late 1950s killings of Ukrainian nationalists Lev Rebet and Stepan Bandera. Bohdan Stashinsky, a KGB hitman, killed them with a spray gun meant to blast cyanide gas at the victim. The truth behind these strange murders was revealed only after Stashinsky defected to the West and disclosed all. However, these state assassinations are not a topical development. The Kremlin has a long history, stretching back a century, of executing political dissidents, at home and abroad, often in agonizing ways, in order to convey messages to other political opponents. In addition, the KGB specialized in honey traps, with female spies known as swallows, luring men into uncompromising positions. One target was Anthony Courtney, a British MP noted for his harsh criticism of the Soviet authorities, whose liaison with a female KGB agent was exposed in the press and contributed to his political demise in the 1960s. Another target was the French ambassador to Moscow, Maurice Dejean, who was fixed up with a gorgeous young Soviet film actress. A KGB agent then pretended to be the woman's envious husband, whose fabricated wrath prompted Dejian to seek assistance from another Soviet official and fall under the thumb of the KGB, which employed him as a reluctant asset. Moreover, a former KGB agent, Yuri Alexandrovich Bezmenov, chillingly predicted modern America and claimed in 1984 that Russia has a long-term goal of ideologically subverting the US. He described the process as a great brainwashing that has 4 basic stages. The first stage, he said, is called demoralization, which would take about 20 years to achieve. The second stage of ideological brainwashing is destabilization. During this 2 to 5 year period, asserted Bezmenov, what matters is the targeting of major structural elements of a nation, like economy, foreign relations, and defense systems. Basically, the subverter, Russia, would seek to destabilize the United States, considerably weakening it. The third stage would be crisis, which would bring a violent change of power, structure, and economy, and will be followed by the last stage, normalization. That's when the country is basically taken over, living under a new ideology and reality. Likewise, once a senior KGB officer who says he was driven by patriotism, Sergei Tretyakov, admits he defected in 2000 because he lost faith in post-Soviet Russia and revealed that his agents included a former Soviet bloc ambassador and a senior Russian official in the Iraqi oil for food program. Well, facing all these defections, the KGB attempted to create its own official narrative of history, as it concedes to Stalin's abuses, but attempts to confine them to the years 1937 to 1953, from the inception of the Great Purge to the arrest and execution of Lavrentiy Beria, Stalin's chief of secret police. Viktor Chebrikov, the KGB's last chairman, also underlined that the purges had resulted in the deaths of 20,000 security officials. Still, straddling so many responsibilities and layers of intrigue, the KGB was both feared and respected until the very end. In 1991, its hardline chief, Vladimir Khrushchev, facilitated engineering an attempted coup against reformist Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. The attempt failed, and the Soviet Union disintegrated that same year. The KGB was dismantled and subsequently replaced by 2 agencies, the FSB, which handles domestic security and counterterrorism, and the SVR, which handles international espionage. Both having terrifying reputations, ensure the grim legacy of the Cheka and the KGB that's going to live for a long time to come. However, intelligence analysts and several Soviet defectors have also warned that the KGB overstated the significance and number of its connections and operations in order to impress the Soviet leadership. and so to boost its budget. Well, now it's up to you, whether you believe it or not. Well, there you have it. We hope you liked this video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel without any delay. Make sure you turn on post notifications, and also let us know in the comments section about your views on these horrifying secrets of the Soviet Union. Thanks for watching Unthinkable Past. Until the next time we meet, continue learning and stay healthy. Goodbye.